We have choices about how we do stuff. We can try to factor things and hope it works out. We can square root, sometimes when we get little factors that have squares in them, we can square root to solve things and find the zeros or the solutions or, maybe x-intercepts if they're real. We know the quadratic formula. And we also have all that, either synthetic or long division, whichever you prefer. So these are the tools we're going to use in this section. They're kind of putting them all together, mixing them all up. I'm going to start with I'm going to start at the end and work backwards just because those are usually harder ones, and we'll see what we fit on here. Okay, so I'm going to look at number 49. I'm actually going to work some of your assigned problems, and you can go back and try to work them yourself, and then just kind of check your answers as you go. Okay, so we have x to the fourth minus 2x cubed minus 3x squared plus 12x minus 18. How do I know that I'm not going to try to factor by group this as compared to the one that we did just before this?
They're odd number.
Yeah, odd number of terms, right? Yeah, there's 5 terms. Usually when we do factor by grouping, it's only 4 terms. And so we know we're not going to use that here. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to try synthetic division to break this down. Now, if they don't give me anything to start with, do you remember that in last section we said if I have to try to guess at what to start with, I take the factors of the constant term, this 18 here, or negative 18, doesn't matter because we're going to say plus or minus in a minute anyway, and I have to put them over the factors of the leading coefficient, which is 1. So things I could try are all the factors of 18, basically, and it's the positive ones and the negative ones. So it would be like plus or minus, let's go ahead and list them just because in a minute we may want to do that. Plus or minus 1, plus or minus 18, plus or minus 2 times 9 is 18, so I might have plus or minus 2, plus or minus 9, plus or minus 3, because 3 times 6 is 18. So these are all the things I could try, but they were nice and they gave me a hint. The hint was one factor is x squared minus 6. Okay. What do you want to do with that information? You can't really use synthetic division there because synthetic division is by a linear factor. I could get a linear factor there. Couldn't I say that x squared minus 6 means that would break down into x minus the square root of 6 and x plus the square root of 6? Remember how we talked about that just a minute ago, that even if it's not a perfect square, we could treat it as the difference of 2 squares? The square root of 6 would just be square root of 6, So I could do that. That's going to make some ugly division. Here is a good place maybe to try some long division. Okay? And I know this is, usually I would not recommend long division. I don't like doing it either. But because they told me this x squared minus 6 and it's not a linear factor, if I don't want to do synthetic division by that radical, which I could, that's my other option here. It's the only really other option I have here, or to just guess at the real number ones. Really, probably my best bet would be to take that x squared minus 6 and go ahead and divide it into that. And I'm going to use long division because I can't use synthetic division when I have not a linear factor, and I just don't want to do it. I'm just not feeling the love for the square root of 6 synthetic division this morning. I don't know about y'all. That sounds like something I just don't want to mess with. This sounds easier to me right now, okay? So if you remember what you do with long division, I got an x to the 4th here. It doesn't look much like it, but that's what it's supposed to be. And then there's an x squared here, and what I do is I say, how many times is x squared going to x to the 4th? X squared times, okay, this will help me break it down a little bit more. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. By the way, I didn't mention it, but I did do a quick check just to make sure I had all my terms in there. There's a 4th degree, 3rd degree, 2nd degree, 1st degree, and constant term. They didn't skip anything that I needed to fill in with a 0, right? I always want to do that when I'm doing synthetic or long division. Okay, so it's x to the 4th minus 6x squared. Okay, minus 6x squared. Ooh, that's ugly. Okay, so let's subtract. Subtract both terms. X to the 4th minus x to the 4th cancels out. Now I have negative 2x cubed left over, and I'm going to subtract negative 6x squared. So that would be plus 6x squared. But remember in long division, don't you always bring down the next term? So I'm going to bring down minus 3x squared. Okay, can I simplify that a little bit? Yeah, and I want to, don't I? Because I really don't want to mess with that, with 3 terms. That's really, I'm just going to draw a line here, just so I don't confuse myself in a minute. That's negative 2x cubed plus 3x squared, right? Again, we're just trying to chop these things up into its little pieces, its factors. Okay, we already dropped it down, but we haven't done the division yet, so let's do the division. How many times is x squared, and I'm going to change color every time I do a division thing here. How many times is x squared going to negative 2x cubed? Minus 2x, good, okay. So, as a matter of fact, I probably should write that over this negative 3x squared since I dropped it down. It might be better if I wrote it here, just it might help me keep up a little bit better with where I am in the division. Negative 2x times x squared is negative 2x cubed, okay? Negative 2x times negative 6 is a positive 12x. Oh, goody goody, okay? This is getting fun, right? So let's clean that up. We've got to subtract all that. Negative 2x cubed minus 2x cubed, that cancels out. 3x squared minus, 3x squared minus 12x is what I've got left. But I need to bring down the next term, which is plus 12x. Good. That just got a little easier, didn't it? Okay. I'm going to have to go to a new page. We just have 3x squared. This is just continuing the first slide, right? So now, how many times is x squared going to 3x squared? 3 times. So I didn't write up here. We had x. Let me go ahead and write x squared and then minus 2x. Yeah, it goes in 3 times, so we'll put plus 3. Let me use another color now. 3 times x squared, is 3x squared. And 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. But I'm going to drop down negative 18, right? Whoops. I got to subtract. Thank you. I was like, that's not going to work out. That does not look good. 3x squared. We're going to subtract now. 3x squared minus 3x squared cancels out. 0 minus 18 is 18. And when I drop down my negative 18, it is, thank goodness, 0. So, my factors are, I'll get that later. I'm not worried about it. Y'all can just have a musical interlude this morning. I know that's such a lovely song. So here's what our factors are so far. They are x squared minus 6 and x squared minus 2x plus 3. There's no way to factor x squared plus 2x plus 3. That's one reason I picked this one. It's a nasty little problem. Okay. What are we going to do if it doesn't factor? No. Skip the problem. No. We're going to go do this is an example of just one that has all kinds of difficulty in it. We're going to have to go do the quadratic formula. I'm going to go to a new slide for that because it's going to take some space. And so here's what we have so far. If I've tried to factor so far, I have x squared minus 6, x squared minus 2x plus 3. Did I copy it right? Yay, thank you. X equal negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And if I want to write down a, b, and c, I'll try to go quickly here. A is 1, b is negative 2, c is 3, correct? Hopefully I'll save this if you just want to watch and copy it off the video later, you can. If I fill that in, negative b, okay, so negative 2 goes there. B squared, here's where b goes again. A times c, and then here's a. So if we simplify that, that's a positive 2 plus or minus 4 minus 12 over 2, right? Okay, so that's 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 over 2, which would be 2 plus or minus. Now 8, we could rewrite 8 as 4 times 2 so that we could take square roots of it a little quicker. Wouldn't that be the square root of 4 comes outside as a 2, and I got a square root of 2 left over, but I also have an I, don't I? Because there's a negative in there, and the square root of a negative 1 is I, all over 2. And if you remember, I can reduce this, and I want to do that. Here's a way to think through the reducing. I think a lot of people had trouble with this in Algebra 2. What if I just said, these are two terms and they're over one term, so it's like they had a common denominator and we stuck them together, right? You could think of this as 2 over 2 plus or minus 2I squared root of 2 over 2. Now do you see how to reduce the fraction a little bit easier? 2 over 2 is 1. These twos cancel out, so I have 1 plus or minus the square root of 2 times I. I'll just put I squared root of 2. Those are my other zeros or solutions there. So if you think about it, this x squared minus 6 gave us x minus the square root of 6, x plus the square root of 6, and again, we talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to spend more time on that. If you still have questions, so you can let me know, and I'll make a video or something after this one posts. And then these other solutions here are x minus 1 plus I squared root of 2, and x plus 1. No, x plus 1 plus square root of 2, and x minus 1 minus I square root of 2. We're just going to take this and put them with the into factors. This is where the conjugate stuff's coming in, isn't it? That plus or minus that we see in there, that's a conjugate. 1 plus square root of 2I, 1 minus square root of 2I is a conjugate. This is hard to read down here, but it's this same factor right here. I just put 1 minus I squared root of 2, and you can't read it because I'm running out of space on the iPad. But that's how we could factor that down. Those are at zeros. Now, it's got some other instructions there. Ignore them. This is factored form, and we're not going to worry about anything but that this is factored form. And the only real number parts I have here are the x minus square root of 6, x plus square root of 6. That means it's time to go.